What's up, everybody? We are back with yet another review. Today's going to be a little bit of a different game. It's Little Nightmares 3. Now, to preface this, I haven't played the first two Little Nightmares, but my fiance had played some of them. We're always looking for co-op games, so I decided to play this with her. And not playing the previous ones, depending on who you ask, might be a good thing, might be a bad thing, because a lot of the negatives in reviews that came out were it didn't live up to the first two, but I got to go into it with no expectations, which, you know, obviously affects my score some. So maybe it's a pro, maybe it's not. But that's what we're talking about today is Little Nightmares 3. Before we get into it, if you want to hang out live on Twitch while I play new games, any new games that interest me, or Warzone, Apex, or Battlefield lately, if you want to come hang out while I play any of those, that's linked down below, as well as my Twitter, my Instagram, my TikTok, my single player channel, and my car Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube channel. If you want to support me here, there, or anywhere, it's always appreciated. But let's go ahead and get into this review. As usual, we'll go through our cons, our so-sos, pros, and then we'll wrap it up, and I'll give it my rating. So the list for these aren't very long because this is a simple game and it's not very long. I got two cons. The first one is a big one that a lot of people harped on. The Little Nightmares games before didn't have co-op, so they finally brought co-op to this one, but it was missing one big thing for co-op, and that is couch co-op. This is online only, so you can't, you know, because this is available on all platforms, or at least the current generation of consoles. You can't just sit on the couch and play, and considering it's not even like a split screen, it would be nice to have some form of couch co-op, but there is none. You look at some of the other co-op games, whether it's Lego Voyagers or Split Fiction, co-op games are better with couch co-op, and there's a complaint for a lot of people. Another con for me is the game was just short. It was about five and a half hours. The game overall is just a little bit too short. It could be longer, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. My next so-so is the storytelling. Now, for some people this might be a pro, for some people this might be an outright con, but there's no just outright narrative. You kind of got to figure out the story for yourself, which we started to figure out towards the end, but I like the story to be at least a little more in my face. I don't mind having to infer and think about things and pick up things on my own, but like a little bit of narrative, because there's no voice acting, which is fine, but just somehow a little more storytelling. I get the gist. It's a little, I think a little girl, but it's a little kid who is trapped in this horrible place, and it's her dreams, which are really nightmares, where her doll is her friend, and you work together with that friend, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of get the story, but there's just not a whole lot of storytelling. So moving on to the pros, the first pro is that there is a Friends Pass. It is becoming a common thing. As far as I know, it started with It Takes Two, and then Split Fiction did it, Lego Voyagers did it, Little Nightmares 3 did it. It's a thing that's becoming very common in the co-op game space, and I think it's something that's very good to have. Because if it was like, if you're playing on console and you had like couch co-op, you wouldn't even need a Friends Pass. So having a Friends Pass as an available option, so only one person has to buy the game, I think is a great part of it. And another post just said it's co-op. The Little Nightmare games before weren't co-op. I probably would have played them leading into this if they were co-op. So this one being co-op is nice because there is two characters, right? The next one I have, and two of these kind of go into each other, but the first one is art style. I just think it's a unique looking art style. I know there's other games that look similar to it, but just the design of the characters and the environments and the way everything's animated and drawn, I just really like the art style of this game. And that bleeds into the next point, which is the atmosphere. The atmosphere is contributed to by the art style, but the lighting on the maps, the music, when the music plays, just the score of the game is good. The atmosphere is, I think, is just really dark and brooding, and it's not like a jump scare game. It's not going to have you completely on edge, like Chronos The New Dawn had me on edge, but it is a spooky atmosphere. It is very creepy, like you wouldn't want to be here. The character designs and the like boss or enemy designs are very creepy. And then another pro I had is, this is a small one, but you can go into the settings and you can have player outlines. Because it's so dark at times, it's nice that you can turn on player outlines and you can choose a color for your player and for your partner, whether the partner's controlled by AI or by a person, which is actually another pro, that you don't have to play co-op. You can play it co-op or not co-op, and the player will be controlled by the AI, which I have heard complaints about from people who've played it not co-op, but I didn't want to talk about that because I didn't have that experience. But having player outlines when everything's so dark, in some areas to be able to see clearly where you are, what position you're standing in, etc. is good. So like I said, that's it. The cons being no couch co-op and too short. The so-so being the storytelling isn't quite obvious enough for me. The pros being the friends pass, just co-op in general, the art style, the atmosphere, and the ability to have the player outlines to see where you are clearly. Overall, it's not the most amazing game I played. It doesn't necessarily inspire me to go play the first two, but hearing that the first two are much better than this one, that does give me some hope to maybe go back and play those at some point. So maybe that's something I go do. I didn't love the game. I think the storytelling was a little bit better. The game was just a little bit longer. I think the rating would be a little bit higher. I've seen a lot of 5-ish scores right around the middle. I think I'm going to go a little higher than that. Maybe that's because I don't have the Little Nightmares experience. I'm looking at a 6-ish, around a 6. Not a stellar game. Not as bad as some other people have thought it was. But I mean, if you're into the Little Nightmares series, I'm sure it's worth playing. If you're just looking for a co-op game, especially with Halloween coming up, it's, partner, friend, whoever, you want to play some co-op with them on Halloween. I think it's a good game for that, just because the atmosphere is spooky and monstrous, and it's a decent little horror game. And, if your kid, as long as your kids aren't really sensitive to horror, I think it's something fun that you could play with your kids as well if you have a way to play the online co-op, which I don't think it's cross-platform, which I should have had on my cons, but I don't remember for sure. But those are my thoughts on Little Nightmares 3. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to check out the links in the comments, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you like this type of content, game reviews, or you're into Warzone or Apex, and maybe I'll start making some Battlefield 6 content. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. And like I said, let me know down in the comments down below what you think of Little Nightmares 3 or my thoughts on it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.